Very soon. I'd just like to say that we've got Books Plus with us tonight, and that you will be able to buy books and get the book signed if you want to. But I'm not going to say anything anymore and pass over to these fantastic speakers straight away that will introduce themselves. So thank you for spending the evening with us.
Welcome to tonight's show. Live from Baptist Library. Let's call it All About AI. I'm Tracey, Kirkland, and this is my co-host Gavin, Fang. We both work for the ABC, don't hold that against us. We're long-time We both worked there for 27 or 28 years, so we're totally institutionalised. We love the ABC, we're very proud of it. But we just want to be really upfront with you and say there's nothing artificial about either of us. Because if I was a robot, I would have asked for less wrinkles and like a flatter stomach. He might be a robot, I know, he looks pretty good. But anyway, tonight you are our studio audience, and we've got a special show for you with an inspiring guest. But first I want to play a game with you. And the game is called Real or Fake. So the way this game works is I'm going to show you an image and I want you to decide whether you think it's real or fake. If it's real, AI has not been used in the making. If it's fake, then AI has been used. I want to kind of test what people think about how we can tell whether something has been AI. I've made it nice and easy. All right, first image. Real or fake? So I'm going to get you to put your hands up. If you think it's real, hands up. If you think it's fake, hands up.
Oh, it's
real.
Why are you eating a microphone?
All right, next one. This is an advertisement. Real or fake? Let's start with, if you think it's fake, hands up. Okay, if you think it's real, hands up. All right, this one is fake. Hard to tell, isn't it? All right, this is the Pope in winter. Is this real or fake? Let's start with if it's fake.
Yeah, it's fake.
If you think it's real, all right, this is fake. See how AI works? Right, let's keep going. This is Donald Trump. Let's start with fake. Who thinks this is fake? You can't be optimistic. Who thinks this is real? As far as I can tell, Donald Trump has not yet been arrested, so this is fake. Right, this lovely cuddle between Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Exclusive, this program, and no advertising breaks. How did you go on the real fake quiz?
Yeah, I got 50% of them.
Okay.
Well, a coin toss would have got 50% of them.
True. Just shows how hard it is. So my question to you is, how hard is it to detect AI right now?
It is nigh on impossible. I mean, there used to be a year or so back, there used to be a few tells. You count the fingers on the hand, you look at the eyes, look at the lip syncing and so on. But the technology keeps on getting better, and it's ever harder to tell what is generated by AI and what isn't. And indeed, even the stuff that's real is being pushed through AI. The reason that your smartphone takes such fantastic photographs today is because as soon as it takes a picture, it uses AI to enhance it. So even the real things that we're seeing are now going through, I mean, they're making fantastic photographs. You can take photographs as good as a photographer, professional photographer now. But you've got to realise that it's not you who are taking a good photograph, it's the AI that's enhancing it, making people look better, balancing the light, making the colour better.
Make sure if you take any photos tonight, you put that AI. Do you understand why people are absolutely terrified about AI?
Yeah, no, I do understand this. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things, the things around in misinformation, or the impacts it can have on people's jobs. There's so many different things that are happening with AI, and happening, as you said in the introduction, introduction, Gavin, happening so fast. And I think that's the problem, which is that we've adjusted to technologies in the past. We've incorporated electricity into our lives has been a great bonus, but this time we don't have time to adjust.
So how do you calm people's fears? What do you say to them when they just, there are people who think that AI is going to take over the whole human population.
I calm them by suggesting that it's like any technology, there are positive things that we can use with the technology, there are negative things, and it's about us having a conversation like one minute tonight. It's fantastic, you all come out tonight to think about these issues, to start the conversations that we need to have, to say, well, how are we going to, where are we going to let this into our lives, where are we not going to let this into our lives, where are we going to actually insist that it isn't. We're doing that now with social media. We're doing that several years too late. Unfortunately, many of us, young children, know the price that has been paid by those people, that we should have been a bit more careful with the way that we let social media into our lives. But we're doing it now. And I'm very supportive of what we're trying to do with that. And I encourage people, let's be more on the front foot with AI. It's only just starting to arrive into our lives. It's not like social media where it was after the event where the harms were so obvious and so clear. A generation of young people have been, in many respects, harmed by technology. With artificial intelligence, it's only just arriving. We could be a bit more proactive. We could actually say, well, social media was a wake-up call. Let's try and do something in advance. So I encourage you to speak to your elected officials and to lobby them to do things like we've done with social media, to say, this is going to be a technology, it's going to transform the way that we go about science, it's going to discover new drugs, it's going to allow us to live healthier, longer, wealthier lives even. But equally, there will be places that will be misused, and I don't want to come back in 10 years' time and say, I was trying to say these things, and we should have done something about it before it became such a painful part of our lives.
So we are going to talk about the positives and we're going to talk about the negatives. But you, and I've seen you speak about this a lot. I've watched you on YouTube. I've been to writers' festivals to see you speak. You wrote a fantastic essay for our book, and you're very positive to that, which I find reassuring. But are there things that surprise you about AI?
Yes. No, of course I'm positive. I've spent my whole life, ever since I was a young boy, in a library like this, reading too much science fiction. My libraries are my happy place. I love libraries. I'm very happy to be back in the library. And the reason I'm here today, 50 years later, is because I was inspired by what I read. You can only build what you can imagine. And I didn't have a very good imagination, but fortunately I had these fantastic writers, people like Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, who painted a picture of a future that was full of robots and intelligent computers that were making people's lives better. And I realised that was coming into sight. I could be someone who could help try and build that future. And so I set myself that goal. I went to university to do those things. My father, who turned 91 yesterday, he's getting there, said to me, when I rang him up to wish him happy birthday, he said, when you went to university, it was some 40-something years ago, to study that artificial intelligence, he said, I thought it was a bit odd, which it was. There was only one place, one department of artificial intelligence at university in the world. That's where I went. And he said, but now I see you were playing the long game.
Well, I'm very proud to say I went to University of Bathurst to study journalism. But back to the question about surprising. Is there anything that surprises you about AI? Like you obviously, you spent your career, your whole life really, doing it. Are you still surprised by it?
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the capabilities of the AI we've got today. But the technology doesn't really surprise me as much as the speed and the scale with which it's arriving. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that we would be spending over $1 billion a day. More than 25% of the world's R&D budget is being spent on artificial intelligence. We have, ladies and gentlemen, we've never invested that amount of money in any one technology ever before. It's the largest capital investment we've ever seen. big throw in it, which is why it's arriving, for one reason why it's arriving so quickly, it's just the scale of the investment. It is unprecedented. At no time, not even in the Manhattan Project, the previous most expensive piece of science that we ever did, were we burning money at the rate that we're burning on artificial intelligence. And that gold rush is the thing that surprised me. I expected it to arrive. I expected the technology to do the sorts of things it can do. But I never expected it to be that gold rush. And the problem with that, I mean, the great thing is that some people are going to make huge amounts of money. That's going to be great for the planet and the economy. But the problem is that the perverse incentives that's throwing up for people to cut corners and behave in ways that are not responsible. Because there is so much money in play.
Okay, Toby, I want to dig into some of those positives as well. Tracey, did you have something else to
Oh my
add?
gosh, you didn't let me get the Russia question
sorry.
in.
You get the Russia question.
One thing I said, I want to get the Russia question in. Last question for this segment, right? I hear that AI got you banned from Russia. Tell us about that. We can't skip that.
It did, yeah. As ever, with most anything in my household, I was the second person to know. My wife was the first person. She got up early, she turned on the ABC radio, and she came into the bedroom. She said, "You're on the news." I said, "What do you mean I'm on the news?" She said, "You're on the headlines." And then, of course, the ABC started ringing me up, asking for comment on the fact that I was on the list of prominent Australians that had just been banned from from Russia. So this was the beginning of the Ukrainian conflict. Australia, like the UK and the US, had banned some Russian oligarchs, and in retaliation, Russia picked on some people who were considered not to be friends of Russia. So they picked on the foreign correspondent of the ABC, they picked on the chief of the army, the head of ASIO, and they picked on me.
Very good company.
Yes, good company. Because I had actually been, I'd written a piece just the previous day in the Sydney Morning Herald, lamenting the fact that how AI was starting to be used in the conflict in Ukraine, especially by Russia. They were using it claiming it was going to be used in ways to make more humane killing. In fact, it was accelerating the way that they were killing people. They were using these AI mines that were terribly barbaric. And they're a derivative of a World War II mine called Bouncing Betty. They would register people walking up to them from 100 metres away. They would bounce and reach up into the air, then send shrapnel out to cause soft tissue damage amongst those people. And they added AI to make them more discriminatory. They're not more discriminatory, they're just more harmful. But I pointed out, unfortunately, you're going to see lots more people claiming that they'd added AI to their weapon to make warfare a more humane thing. I said that the only thing that would be making is warfare a more deadly thing. And it wouldn't be more discriminatory with the sensors you had. You couldn't tell a Ukrainian soldier or a Russian soldier that was just going to make the killing quicker and more deadly.
Are you still banned?
I'm still banned, yes, but apparently I'm banned for life, according to the message from the foreign ministry. And the sad irony is that Ukraine is a signatory to the anti-cluster mine treaty, UN treaty, that bans these mines. Russia is not a signatory to these treaty articles.
I'm going to hand it over to Gavin for the next segment, or I'm in trouble.
All right, I do want to explore some of those different positives as well as some of the negatives. But just before we go, you mentioned young Toby in the library. What was your favourite robot/AI character and why?
This one. This is the cover of my newest book. That's Hal in Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke's fantastic movie, 2001, A Space Odyssey. And of course, I suspect many of you may know the movie, but Hal, the AI computer, is one of the leading protagonists. He's the baddie in the movie. He's trying to kill the humans. Why is it AI movies always have AI as the baddie? I actually was on the plane the other day, and I was looking through the in-flight entertainment system. And there's various categories in it. You've got Hollywood movies, family movies. And I noticed there's this new category. It's called AI Doom. It's a whole category of movie about how AI, and this AI, of course, this intelligent computer that is running the space station. It says one of the most famous movie lines, or certainly the most famous AI movie line. I'm sorry, I can't let you do that. I can't let you open the Bayport doors. And I remember seeing that movie as a young boy, seeing it in the cinema, and amazing Technicolor sound, it's got a wonderful soundtrack, and just being blown away, thinking about we might have those sorts of computers in our lives. And actually, the interesting, exciting, wonderful thing is, everything that the AI computer, Hal, could do in that movie, could play a decent game of chess, it could have a philosophical conversation with the other lead character of the movie, it could open the Bayport doors, all of those things you can have in your home today.
So they can do those things, but Hal was also sentient, right? Are we on the pathway to sentient AI like Hal?
We don't know. It's a fantastic question. We don't know. As far as we can tell, the computers we have today are not sentient. You don't have to worry. ChatGPT isn't conscious. When you turn it off, it doesn't care. When you turn it back on, it doesn't care. It will pretend to care about you, and it doesn't. It will pretend, to be conscious and so on, but it isn't, as far as we can tell. But it's a really
We're going to talk about books now.
Yeah, great questions, everybody. Thank you. And I'm sure there's heaps more I'd like to hear them when you ask Toby them in a bit. We are going to talk books because we're in the library and we're talking about books. So, Toby, just quickly, how many books have you written?
half a dozen.
Half a dozen. Wow.
I only intended to write one book. That's the fucking thing. Back in 2016, I wrote AI became more of a thing. People started to talk about it. For Go, be the best Go player on the planet. So I thought, better journalists like Tracey and Gavin started ringing me up, asking me questions. I thought, I better put it all down and say everything I know about AI. So I wrote that book. And then the book came out, and I remember got lots of public questions and questions from more journalists. And they didn't ask me anything about the things in the book. They asked me other questions, so I told them another book. And then I did the second one. I thought, I'm done now. And then ChatGPT came out, so I thought, I better write this book talking about ChatGPT. So it keeps on moving. And I hope one day I can stop writing about AI.
Well, if there's one thing we hold dear, it's that we get to choose the questions we get to ask, which is nice as journalists. Tell us about these two books, though, which we've got here, Faking It and Shortest History of AI. Give us the quick pitch on what's in these two books.
Yes, thanks. So this is the book that I wrote. I started writing the day that ChatGPT came out. I thought this is going to be, people are going to be blown away by this. They're going to have to understand this. What's it going to be like in a world in which it's going to be very hard to tell what's real and fake anymore. And that's why the title is Faking It. Artificial intelligence in the human world. The distinction between the real and the artificial is going to blur into one. How is that going to impact politics, art, everything to do with being human? So that's that book. And then my most recent book, which just came out a couple of months ago, it's a series that Black Ink have, the shortest history of various topics, then light-hearted introductions. The subtitle of this book is 6 Ideas of All You Need to Know. It's 6 chapters. It's a short, witty, layman's introduction to where artificial intelligence started, where it's going, and rather than have to spend the 40 years that I spent getting up to speed on artificial intelligence, you just have to read the book and you'll be an instant expert.
Tracey, tell us about Agent Doubt.
Well, this is a book that Gavin and I have co-edited. It is a collection of essays from some really big thinkers globally on these topics around misinformation, disinformation. Toby writes the chapter on AI. We talk to scientists. Ray's chief scientist writes the book on science and trust in science, trust in policing, trust in religion. We've delved into everything. And really what we want to do with this book is ask, who can we trust now? How do we figure it out? And we asked everybody to give us solutions. So every essay, it should be really positive about what we can do to rebuild trust in our institutions and actually come together as a society to make some really good decisions. So that's Agent Down.
And on another positive note, all proceeds go to
The Indigenous Literacy Foundation. Yes, so Gavin and I earn nothing. We do all this for fun because we love to be part of these really important conversations. And so, all our books, the money goes to the Indigenous Literacy Foundation.
Right.
And also the people who wrote, including Toby, get nothing. We don't know everything.
Alright,
I get to hang out with fun people like you.
Alright, so that's almost all we've got time for before book signing and before some more questions from the audience over there. But just wrap it up for us. Is there anything else that you think we should know about AI as we close off?
Jump in talk about AI.
What do I know about it? I've got plenty of thoughts, but they won't be as intelligent as yours. I can't turn my dial up to 11.
I think the most important thing, the take-home message I want to leave you with is that we still have agency. It's all about our choices. It is in our hands. Technology is not destiny. It's about us having these conversations and making wise choices as to what sort of world we want the technology to help us build. We've done that in the past. We did that with the Industrial Revolution. Do you want to say just a couple of things here? Just to remind people what agency we have. In the Industrial Revolution, we introduced unions, labour laws, the weekend. People forget. We transformed the society, we spread the benefits around. Life expectancy here in Australia has doubled. You used to die in your 40s, you now die in your 80s. The working week for many people has gone